everyone, and welcome to the Captain's video weblog for September 5th, 2015. What am I going to talk about today? I think yesterday I said I would talk about anime. Yeah, that's a weird thing. It's really, you know, shows the cultural differences between America and like my country, France, because not exactly Europe, though Europe had a lot of anime back in the day. In the 80s, we had a lot of anime in on TV. I mean, if you are, I don't know, 50, you've watched stuff like Captain Hollock or I don't know what it's called in English, but in French it was called Captain Flamme. And there was also Mazinger, and all that stuff had different names in French. There was Ulysses 31, a lot of anime, and if you're my age, you probably and you had a TV and were able to go back home at noon. You could watch on a public channel, a state-owned channel. There was this little child programming block that aired sometimes new anime, most times 80s stuff like Captain Tsubasa or Attacker Go, and there were generally a lot of anime, and I mean Japanese anime, on French TV. Still, there's channels today that exclusively air anime, but they're not as available as France Television's channels, and that's really a shame. Though, I mean, current stuff isn't quite the same because there's a huge crisis that makes the whole medium be, well, essentially ads for the successful light novel series or the manga or the visual novel or maybe the RPG. I think it was last year, yeah, that there was Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis, and it was an anime from a card game, I think on mobile, as still the Idol Master, Cinderella Girls, and it's the anime of a mobile game. And there's not a lot of original stuff. Say, this summer, the top of my head, the only original thing I can name is Symphogear, and it's the 3rd season. I mean, it's still original because there's no source material except, well, the anime itself. We're past the days where you could do a whole series that was just OVAs, like Legend of Galactic Heroes, which is like 100. The main series is 110 OVAs that ran in the 80s and the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. There was Dalos, which was the first OVA series. Now, it's just because it's more profitable to do a series and will be backed by a major records company, TV channels. I mean, King Records, Lentis, Aniplex, all that jazz there, supporting a lot of series. Aniplex, I mean, they are Sony's anime branch, so obviously they're going to do a lot of anime. But yeah, there was this thing I saw last night, that the big companies in Japan are going to launch a portal for to read manga legally, and I thought, yeah, this is really cool and all, but they said it was going to be on an international scale, worldwide, to make manga more accessible to the world. In France, we have such a culture about manga that it's not even a niche thing. Um, I think it was in 2003 that it represented 30% of the market in comics in France and Belgium. 30% is big because France and Belgium are big comic countries, you know? There's this whole thing about uh, uh, Franco-Belgian comics that, you know, Tintin and I don't know all the names, but it's such a big thing. I didn't realize that manga was so big in these countries. And yeah, nowadays you don't even have to break even with the sales or the you know the audience, the ratings with an anime to make the whole thing profitable because there's so many companies involved and so little money because they're paid literally breadcrumbs essentially. Sometimes they don't even uh, you know they are the episodes are made just hours before the broadcast. If I had to recommend an anime about making anime, it would be Shirobako, which literally translates to white box, I think, and follows the adventures of a kind of shitty studio that struggles after um, the main director guy in the company made an anime which called Jiggly Jiggly Heaven, and it failed quite possibly in the worst manner. It literally had melting animation. If you don't quite see what melting animation could be like, just watch Dragon Ball Super. I saw the critics, the reviews of episode 8, and the animation, the pacing, Toei is not really doing well, even though they've got that fat money from Bandai. Bandai they always put the money when they do their projects. For example, we look at I don't know, Idolmaster, generally pretty good quality visually speaking because the plot, I mean, it's idols. What are you looking for? Yeah, it's and Dragon Ball is supposed to be a cash cow for Toei because they're doing a lot of projects, films, and whatnot, and generally now they're just showing that planning is not their forte. Um, and it's been said time and time again, like when they announced the Kankoli movie, and there was this discussion about what worse studio, what is there a worse studio than Diomedia to do the movie, and people said Toei, but you don't want Toei to do this because I mean even with all the shitty CG Diomedia has done with Kankoli, you wouldn't want the same animation as in Dragon Ball Super in Kankoli. But what do I know? And yeah, there's also this stuff in France. Sorry, there's a fly on my nose. Get away! God damn it! Well, it's on my arm. Not going to be harmful. Yeah. And you know, there's this thing about distribution in the Western countries where fan sub has become quite a big thing. Like Crunchyroll has begun as a fan sub distributing website. Now they're doing the subs themselves. And I mean, quite obviously, it's going to be a dog eat dog world. The more licensing companies are going to put money on this. In France, we have Kaze and Kana, I think, that made ADN, and generally they're not seen as really good because they announced their licenses 3 weeks into the broadcast. That's ridiculous. There's Wakanim who do a thing with tokens, which is really dumb in this day and age. Especially when they're banking on big franchise like Sword Art Online and Durarara and Kill la Kill, because they have a partnership with Aniplex. Because there's no European branch of Aniplex actually. There's Aniplex USA, but no Aniplex Europe, which is pretty weird, I think. But anyway, um, and there's Crunchyroll in Europe. That was pretty cool until recently, because where there are ripped by the companies by fan subs, and they don't say much because most of the staff here in France, at least, come from fan sub. I mean, ADN, they're they're doing a thing where you can really blame them because they're still in a very traditional commercial you know uh, kind of scope. They see TV first, except their channel. It's not really available. It's kind of expensive, and even their subscription model is pretty shitty. Though now they made stuff available to watch 15 days and in 480p. It's not comparable to Crunchyroll that makes their thing and stuff available 1 week later, but still in 480p. But it's available always, and there's those Wakanim who makes their stuff available in HD, but for a month, and you have to open an account now because of all the illegal download stuff. Oh yeah, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder for fan subs to strive, even though there are not a lot of license here, at least in my country. There are not a lot of licenses for successful anime. I remember last year, one of the shows I liked most was Gekan Shoujo no Zaki-kun, and it wasn't picked up at all until Viewster, I think, and that was pretty dumb. Anyway, well, thanks for watching, and see you soon.